Hi there, I am Sarah Colas. Welcome to the Dressing Up podcast, where we talk about all things bridal, dresses, and general dressing up topics. I love to encourage women to dress up while expressing their personal style with confidence on how to do so. Visit sarahcolas.com to book a bridal alterations fitting or even inquire about designing the custom couture bridal gown of your dreams. I'm so excited to talk to you about this next topic. Let's get started. All right, everybody. So this is Brittany. It's so good to hear from you, Brittany. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Brittany Lo, and I am the founder and CEO of Beautini, which is essentially a bridal beauty service company here in New York City that specializes in weddings and events. And I also have a body and skincare line called Beia.
Wow, that is so cool. So are you actually in New York City?
I am. Yep, I'm actually working from home today, but our office is like just 2 blocks away.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. So the wedding beauty services business that you have, is it just you or do you have a whole staff or what is that like?
Yeah, so I started Beautini fresh out of college when I was 22 years old, and then officially launched in March of 2015. And so we've been around for over 10 years at this point. So I do have a full-time team that works with all of our clients and our planners, but then also have like a large stylist team that does the hair and makeup.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. Congratulations to that.
Thank
That is
you.
incredible. I bet that was a very good time to start such a business like that. Do you think?
Yes. Yeah, so when I was graduating from Babson College, I always wanted to go into beauty products. Like I love making and going into Sephora. But the truth was I didn't have like any money to my name and I wasn't sure where the white space was from a product perspective. And at that point, so you think 2014, 2015, that's when Dry Bar, Glam Squad, all these like on-demand experiential services were becoming very popular. And so my thought process was I don't know where the white space is for product. The next best thing is to create services and work with women firsthand to understand where the white space and where other beauty pain points are so I could then create products down the road. And so that's really what led me to thinking about like this service experience. And we actually started Beautini working with Equinox and thinking it'd be all about these like quick services in between the gym and work. But as we did a few of those pop-ups, we realized I wanted it to be an experience that people care about. And I had some friends getting married at that time. They couldn't find the right beauty provider for them. And when I thought about it, the weddings just made sense. I grew up catering weddings. I've always been a hopeless romantic. And it's truly, truly a life moment where you do care about every person you are working with.
Yeah. Wow, that is incredible. And I think you have said a lot of things, and I have some notes here about how I feel like our services overlap a lot. You help
Yeah.
women feel beautiful, and so do I,
So do you.
in regards to their dress. So I think that that is phenomenal. I just want to say this sentence here that just about Brittany in general. She's passionate about empowering women through confidence and self-care, and you've helped thousands of brides look and feel their best, and you're now sharing your own journey down the aisle. When is your wedding date?
So I actually just got married. It'll be 2 months on Thursday. We were in the process for a while, and it was so fun to be going through it firsthand, and I honestly learned so much, even what I could implement in my own business by being a bride, and it was the best day ever. But, yeah, now it feels like it was yesterday, and I
Yeah,
haven't posted about it quite yet, so everyone's always wondering when the wedding is, but we're waiting for a publication to feature it, which
that
will
makes
be soon.
sense. Wow. Okay. So that was so exciting. So tell me about the experience of you as a bride getting your hair and makeup done.
So, yeah, it was honestly pretty surreal because I started Beautini at 22 years old, didn't have a boyfriend for years, was just starting this business, and the only real experience I had was catering, serving people food at weddings. And our whole like Beautini is specialized in that morning of your wedding day and how to make this incredible experience. And we worked so hard to create this seamless experience for brides, so to then be that bride after a decade of working with other people on their big days, it was just so much fun. Of course, they showed up so early. They did the most incredible job. My bridesmaids, the moms, and I were like dancing all morning. There was champagne flowing. It was just like, I remember thinking that morning, being like, wow, obviously I can't wait to get married, but even if the day ended like this, I had already the best day of my life.
That is incredible. Is there any part of you that felt like it was a work day? Just that energy and that atmosphere that you've known so well?
I think that when our planners were like, "Start getting into your dress," it's like it's showtime, then I'm like, "Ah," like, I know, like, what happens next. It means, like,
Yeah.
time is crunching, we gotta get moving, and I think that was really the only time where I felt any ounce of work, but not
Yeah.
even because we had such an incredible planning team, and I always tell our clients, if you invest in really great vendors that specialize in weddings, they're gonna take care of you on the wedding day, and you're not gonna have to worry. And honestly, our wedding weekend started Thursday night with a rehearsal dinner. And so by the time Saturday came along, and honestly, even by the time Thursday night came along, like I just felt like a guest at our wedding and knew that we hired like the best people possible to make our day seamless as it could be. And so I really don't feel like I felt like it was work at all.
Oh, gosh, that is so good. So good. I just want to do one question that I always ask all of my podcast guests, which is just for fun, since we're on the Dressing Up podcast after all, what is your favorite item in your closet right now?
Ooh, can it be something from my wedding?
Sure. Yeah.
There is this dress, I will say, it's from Oscar de la Renta, and I've always been a fan of Oscar just through the lens of our clients. Honestly, it's from a few years ago from their fall collection, but it's this pink floral dress with these velvet maroon bow straps on them, and it's a little mini dress. And I was like, oh, I'll just like buy it, and then I either figure out how to repurpose it or just sell it after the wedding. But it became one of those dresses where my husband and I were like, "Oh, I can wear this to a cocktail hour for work. I can wear this for maybe like the rehearsal dinner of someone's wedding." Like it just feels like there's so many reasons and ways I can wear this dress over and over again. So I just got married, so I got to wait for probably next year, but I am excited just to be able to repurpose that dress a lot throughout the year.
I would not get rid of it. That sounds adorable.
Right? I know. And everything piles up
Yeah.
with planning a wedding. You're like, "Okay, I'm just gonna buy it and then I'll sell it right
Yeah.
after." But then there's such a memory that's instilled in that outfit. And so I was pretty practical. I wasn't trying to be too trendy and try to do something that I don't actually love. And I even made a dress for our welcome party on the Friday of our wedding weekend with a designer named LG Project. And it was a two-piece like skirt with this like halter, and now I'm like, oh, I have an outfit for our honeymoon. I can wear the skirt with a different top, and now I have an outfit, or vice versa. So I think that was like the key was just finding outfits that, of course, worked for the wedding, but that I could see whether it was accessories, the shoes, the dress, or the outfit, I could see me using outside of a wedding.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've actually recently kind of had this epiphany with stuff like that. For example, I had a bride over recently for alterations on her dress, and her mom pulled out her earrings that she wore on her wedding day, that her mom wore on her wedding day. So I'm like, keep
Oh
everything
my gosh,
because
I
you never
love
know what
that.
your potential future daughter might want to use for her wedding day or some other day.
I ended up repurposing my mom's wedding dress for my reception gown. And it's funny because I was at like Kleinfeld looking for a reception dress and it was really beautiful. But my mom was like, huh, it's so funny. The lace on that dress is just like my wedding gown. And so once she like took out her gown, I'm like, wait, this is like exactly what I want. The top couldn't be better. I just want to change it from this big ball gown to more of like a fit and flare, and we were able to do that. And like
So
if she
fun.
didn't save all, like her dress and all the materials, that
Hmm.
wouldn't have been possible. So I am definitely keeping everything we have.
Oh gosh, 100%. I love that. Okay, so jumping into our first official topic here, the bridal beauty evolution. How has the industry shifted from when you first started as far as the aesthetic of beauty on a bride's wedding day?
That's a great question. So when I started about a decade ago, we always had specialized in natural beauty because there were a lot of options out there that gave you like the really big bridal updos and like the heavier makeup. And so we always have taken more of like this red carpet approach. But what we've found even more so is at one point people really liked like the heavier contour Kardashian look. And now we're seeing more of like, they want their skin to look like skin. They want it to be glowy. Sometimes they do want like their blemishes or imperfections to really shine through, while also emphasizing their eyes with individual lashes versus strip. And like, we've always been very true that like, if someone wants to look completely different than they actually do on a normal basis, Beautini is probably not the right fit. But if you want to just look like the best version of you, come to us. And I think that the matte finishes versus more like that dewy, glowy finish on the skin, you see slight alterations. And probably that's like the biggest thing is skin. You're seeing a lot more makeup brands be more skincare forward. And so as a result, people are just taking better care of their skin and they want that natural glow from their skin to be shown, even if they are wearing foundation. So I'd say that's probably the biggest change.
Hmm. And what are some great tips for brides as they're approaching their wedding day? Like, what's your general advice for a skincare routine? Like, should they be getting a facial the week of their wedding? Like, what are some key steps, do you think, leading up to the
Well,
wedding
it's
day?
this is such I'm giggling because my response to this question as a wedding vendor and beauty expert would say, "Don't try anything new close to your wedding." But I laugh because the week before my wedding, I chose to get a facial at a place I never went
Okay.
before. I started eating fruit that would help my digestion but gave me hives. So I am going to reiterate this. I used ClassPass to get some of my facials leading up to the big day. But ultimately, I worked with my dermatologist to create like an overall plan for my skin. So you're not just trying a bunch of random treatments or facials, but it all makes sense to ladder up with your overall objective. So I'd say like at least 6 months in advance, start getting regular facials because the better your skin is as a canvas, the less makeup you need and the better it's going to really sit on your skin. And for whatever you do, even if there is a great deal or promo, whatever it might be, do not try somewhere new the month of your wedding because it causes so much more stress to have to fix the blemishes or reactions that you might have to something that you're not used to. So invest in that facial and the facialist that you're used to and just keep it like easy. I think we always strive for perfection. And then when you try so hard for perfection, sometimes things actually go awry and you're worse off than if you were just to keep things consistent. And that's me speaking to myself.
Do as they say, not as they do, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, jumping ahead to coming from a wedding vendor yourself to now being a bride. What was that like during the process of planning your wedding? And what are some things that surprised you?
The biggest surprise was I've been in this industry for over a decade and you go to conferences and you have like a general idea on how much the weddings might be that we're working on, but to be in the shoes of the couple and like actually understand like wow, there are a ton of hidden costs or oh, I did not realize AV and sound would be cost this or I didn't think about the travel arrangement costs for the band. Like there's so much that you just don't know until you are in the shoes of the couple. So that was like the biggest piece to me. It was how expensive truly having a wedding
Yeah.
is. And then also emphasizing as a vendor, like we don't like negotiate our rate. Like there's so much work that goes into a wedding versus an everyday event. And so it was like having that balance of finding and wanting the best vendors, but knowing which ones you really wanted to prioritize and others that you just needed to think about other options because to really have every single thing that you want as number one, most time, or at least in my case, was unattainable. And so it was fun because we did prioritize like 3 to 5 vendors that we knew we wanted. And then for everyone else, it was like hopefully they would fit into the overall budget. And there was even a vendor like our videographer that I didn't know and our planner recommended, and they ended up blowing us away. And so I think that yeah, just like having priorities and like aligning with those priorities and knowing that you're going to be able to have an amazing wedding no matter what. And as long as you pick wedding specialized vendors, it's going to be great.
Is there anything you could go back in time and have done different?
Honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, this is silly. I think the only thing that I think about is when I was changing into my reception dress, I was dancing so hard that like my whole body and face was like drenched with sweat. And my friend like helped me like take off the sweat, but my hair was like so naturally like kinky and knotty. And I was like, oh, like in my mom's gown that I changed into, my hair is like so like gnarly looking that I'm like, oh, should I just like had my hair changed or done differently so it didn't look like that? But then, then that would mean that it would have taken away dancing time. So of
Oh,
course I wouldn't actually change that. But that was
right.
funny for me to be like, oh,
Something
do
you
I
thought
try to
about.
look prettier and get these knots out of my hair, or do I just keep on dancing and keep on sweating? And that
I'm
was
sure
the direction
nobody
I
noticed.
chose.
Yes. Nobody noticed, I'm
Exactly.
sure of it. I'm sure it
I
looked phenomenal the whole time, but I understand that. Yeah. Wow. Okay, well, that's great. That's great to hear everything went well and you wouldn't change much. So phenomenal.
No, no,
Fantastic.
I think that, like, if you are bride planning, like, when you start worrying about, like, if the right napkins are at what part of the wedding, like, that just feels like you might lose perspective on the wedding. Like, once it comes, it's like, be the guest at your wedding, like, enjoy the food, eat the menu that you so carefully created, like, dance with your friends, enjoy the music, and most importantly, like, enjoy the moment with your partner, because that's really, at the end of the day, why you're having the whole event. And like, the more you can just focus on that, people walk away having the most fun at weddings that made them feel really good and had really authentic energy, not the ones that like looked the prettiest or had like the
Right.
coolest centerpieces. And I think that was like the biggest takeaway that we had. And just working this industry, I was very clear on that priority. And I do think it played out in a way that I'm so grateful that it did.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. I am so curious what New York City weddings are like in comparison to where we are at in Detroit and really the rest of the country. I can't imagine New York City wedding industry is anything like anywhere else. I just can't envision like giant venues being able to hold 300 people. Like, does that exist in downtown?
They do. There's certain like Cipriani's is one of the venues that has like three different locations, and you can have hundreds of people. But of course, like you have traffic, like there's pros and cons because New York City is so easy to fly into. There's so many hotel options, but also the logistics of getting from whether like it's a church to the venue or hotel, like there's just a lot of layers there too. But it's fascinating. There's so much talent in this industry throughout the country, but then just thinking about how many people are also just like based in New York that you get to run into while you're at a wedding conference in a different country, it's just really fun. And the wedding right now, it's bridal fashion week. So I went to like the bridal market today, and you just like run into so many different people, all these brands that are showcasing here, people who are flying in. And so it's fun to be at like this hub where no matter where you live, it draws in people all around from this industry to like celebrate this really fun week or celebrations that we have as an industry.
Did you grow up in New York City too?
I grew up in like 2 hours north of the city. So I started interning in New York City in the high school. And so I always got a glimpse of it, always knew I wanted to live in the city. We actually got married at a venue like in between where I grew up and the city called Chester, New York, because I do love the grass and the trees. But there's something about that hustle and bustle of New York City that is so energetic and magnetic that right now in our lives for the foreseeable future, we couldn't imagine not being in New York City.
Wow. I love visiting New York. I love it. I love going fabric shopping in New York, but I don't know if I could live there. I need
Visit.
space. Like sewing takes up space, and I don't know how you do it.
No,
It would
honestly,
be
that's
rough.
the fun part. Was what was I talking? Oh, I was just talking about workout studios. Like there was a company that has studios in New York, and they're explaining their studio in Connecticut outside of New York City. They're like, you can't imagine how much bigger it is. And we were saying like, if you have a tiny little spot of space anywhere in New York, that is like a gold mine
Ah,
where you
yeah.
really can get so much more for your money elsewhere. And so it's not for everyone. And I do think some of the designers and some of the vendors have warehouses outside of the city and then have like a micro office in Manhattan. But I agree that like it's so cool to think about how the different wedding markets operate differently because you do have the luxury of having more space and more probably being able to hold on to more dresses and do more
Mhm.
work, where that setup would look a lot differently for someone here in the city.
I was even thinking that I do a lot of wedding dress alteration. So people bring me their dress, I alter it, and then
Yes.
they take it back home. I was even thinking, like, in New York City, even just from the bride's perspective, to like carry a gigantic gown, like through the subway or down the street, like, how would that even work? Let alone, my studio would be so small. I'm sure it'd be fantastic, but yeah,
But yeah, you're just like,
the
"Where would I
luxuries
store
of,
all these dresses?" I
yeah,
know, like, I see the space behind you, and you have a
yeah,
massive space,
yeah.
and so that's amazing just to be able to have a little bit more organization where you do
Hmm.
have to be a scrappier. The same time, yeah, I think there's, like, pros and cons, but I do think, our business is based here, but I think eventually just from, like, a housing perspective, once we have a family, down the road, I think the outskirts of the city just provide more space and just, like,
Hmm.
more outdoors that I think is
Hmm.
very enticing to think
Yes, yes, absolutely.
about.
Although I'm sure it's great fun while you have it now.
Exactly.
It's fantastic. Okay, so I want to move on to how you founded your other company, Beia, a skincare and body care line that helps women feel confident every day. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so like I was mentioning earlier, when I was leaving college, the thought was always to build product. And funny enough, when I was 16, I created a mascara line called Belo Cosmetics. But what I found very quickly was you don't just get into Sephora or CVS and people just buy your product. It's really, really hard to build up a community and a customer
Mhm.
base, and it costs a lot of money to develop and produce these products. So I first step was growing Beautini, and pretty early on, I knew down the road I would want to have Beia, but it wasn't until the pandemic when there were no weddings or events that I had the time to
Mm,
really
yeah.
think about it. And
Mhm.
so I started in March of 2020. We reshuffled everyone's wedding dates. We've talked to every client, but we don't know the unknown of like, when is this pandemic going to end? And so when I was at a standstill with Beautini, I actually was in my New York City apartment. My two roommates at the time were isolating with their families. I needed to focus on just like getting work done, just focus on taking care of my clients. And so I was like, you know what? Let me spend a little bit extra time alone and just brainstorm for Bea. And what we found was through interviewing all my Beautini clients who were generous enough to allow me to chat with them when we were all going through this pandemic, I
Mhm.
found that women would come in for their hair and makeup for a wedding day, but be like, "Listen, I sweat really easily. Is my makeup gonna
Mhm.
hold?" Or, "Hey, I have these blemishes on my chest, and I have a low cut dress. What do I do?" And I was like, "Huh, I guess these are beauty questions, but it's not like I can just send her to Sephora and there's like a quick solution for her." And in my own life, that's when I would run from the office to a networking event or drinks with friends or go on a date. And by jumping around, I would get stinky or sweaty and just not feel confident. And so the idea for Bea was how can we create products that you can use in those in between moments from going from
Mhm.
A to B, feeling your best self. And so our hero product are called our refresh wipes. And so they're individually wrapped. There's no fragrance to them, but they help remove odor, and they have tea tree water and aloe vera to help like soothe and cleanse the skin head to toe, also pH balance. And that's a thought of like, even on a wedding day, for dancing really hard during the reception or changing into your after party, well, it probably makes sense to use your Bea wipe.
I love that so much. You're not recreating products that have been done over and over. You started something totally brand new. I love that.
Thank you. And I think that's where like you've seen like feminine wipes maybe before and more of like the fem care section. There's a resemblance of these products, but like we didn't just say, hey, we're going to focus on the eyes. So let me create a mascara, eyeshadow, and eyeliner. It was deeper than that. It was really talking to women and creating products that they're telling us they need versus us creating products that we think women may want.
Fantastic. I love it. Did you use those products on your wedding day?
I did. It's funny because I was just thinking, I'm like, huh, did I? I'm like, darn, I wish I filmed like
Yeah.
me like
Mhm.
drenched with my best friend. Like she was like wiping me with a wipe. And luckily my mother-in-law put them in the welcome bags or like the
Oh,
bathroom
yeah.
bags. And then it's funny because right before I walked down the aisle, I did feel myself like, okay, I'm about to walk down the aisle. You know, like when you get nervous, I get like really sweaty in my armpit. So I did use a wipe and I think I recorded that. So I do need to like find that and post that because that was like a fun, like authentic moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I smell, I'm sweaty, I'm nervous, and I'm about to get married.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you there. Yeah, I'm sure lots of brides would love that, but also just women in general. That sounds like a phenomenal new product. And you have them wrapped individually, right? So you could just put one in
Yes,
your purse. Yeah,
exactly. That
always
was the
have one
whole
handy.
thing was, like, I'm someone who it has to be easy. If there's any friction points with products I use, I generally just won't use them or won't use them
Yeah.
as often, and
Mhm.
so the wipes I have, like, in my wallet, every bag I own, wherever it might be, because that ease of use where you are in that in-between moment is exactly when you need them, and if you have to take out this big bag to then use it, it defeats the whole purpose.
Yes. Love that. Love that so much. Fantastic. Okay, so next topic, your bride life essentials. So, can you share with us your favorite bridal shower must-haves and any thoughtful details?
Ooh. So for the bridal shower, I made sure that I had my little clutch that was almost like a bucket. It had a mini hairbrush that I had just in case after setup I was needing to like touch up. I brought my lips. So I think having my like lip liner, lip gloss, and a little concealer goes a long way. Had my Beia wipe because I was sweaty doing the setup and then trying to change look beautiful. And then I believe I also had a disposable camera, which was really fun to be able to like capture the moments and look back
So
at
cute.
those. I had my phone and I believe I brought my charger, but looking back, I wish I brought like a portable charger so that way I could continuously take photos without leaving my phone in the corner.
Yeah. I understand that for sure. Where did you do your bachelorette party?
So actually, this is funny because my original idea was Mykonos in Greece. But at the time when we reached out, I knew I have friends who have little kids or it was just far. And
Mhm.
so a few of my friends were like, listen, I have little ones. I need to go away, but I just can't go to Greece. Can I help plan a second bachelorette? And initially I said no to three of my friends, but then they started just planning a bachelorette. And I was like, you know what? If this is another excuse to hang out with my best friends, and just see
100%.
more of my friends on a
Mhm.
vacation, which is a little bit more rare as you get older. Why not? And so I did my first bachelorette in Miami with a larger group. I think it was maybe like 12 of us, which was so much fun. And then there was, I think, six or eight of us who went to Mykonos, so Greece, which was amazing. And I think having a smaller group ultimately in Mykonos allowed us to treat it more of like a vacation than this like overly planned bachelorette, and I like
Yeah.
loved it so much.
Oh, that's so fun.
It was so
Oh
much
my gosh.
fun.
How
I
incredible.
know, it was so much, and two of my best friends got married before me, and they did Ibiza in Spain, and so
Wow.
I was like, "All right, if they went to Europe," I was like, "Well, I need to do Europe too," and it ended up being the best. It really felt like just like
Oh,
a girl's vacation that those memories, like, I'll remember forever.
oh gosh, yeah, that is the trip of a lifetime. That is absolutely phenomenal. What about your honeymoon? Did you go on a honeymoon?
So we've done a mini moon right after the wedding, which I think, you know, you hear everyone has their own feedback or advice when it comes to like post wedding when to take a honeymoon. And I think that there's something special about living in this bubble after you get married. And I think that like after the wedding, even if you go stay near the wedding venue or do a little staycation somewhere, like doing something where you can just like extend this bubble that you're
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
and be able to like review the wedding photos together without being at work and just like having this time to really like talk about the wedding and reflect on it as a couple. That was so magical. Like I know my husband loves to be active and do all these activities, but by day 2 of our mini moon, he's like, "All right, let's just like chill on the resort and just like eat and sleep and just like relax." Which I loved. And so our honeymoon is we got married August 16th. Our honeymoon is the first 2 weeks of December. So we've had some time, but I'm really happy because as the wedding excitement kind of comes down, we still have something to look forward to. So we're going to Thailand and then Indonesia, so Bali.
Wow.
It'll
That's
be
gonna
so
be
fun.
insane.
I'm so
Oh,
excited.
I would say like August or October, I think is a very busy time for everybody and a lot of weddings
Mhm.
going on. I hear a lot of people are doing mini moons, especially I know in the Michigan area, you go up north Michigan, it's just gorgeous up there. Lots of wineries and Airbnbs and the lake and everything. It's just beautiful. So I have been really loving that for people because, going somewhere driving distance where you don't have to hop on a flight at 6 a.m., just enjoying your moment right after the wedding without it costing an arm and a leg, and then reevaluating for a bigger trip in the future. I love that so much.
Yeah, and I don't think it matters like
Same.
where you are, just about being together
Hmm.
and then ultimately then having that next piece to look forward to is just like
Yeah.
so great. And also like yeah, being a wedding vendor, the week of my wedding I took off and it was just a lot. Like it definitely was very overwhelming
Yeah.
returning back to work, I'm not going to lie. And so now I'm
Hmm.
still feeling like I'm catching my breath a little bit because
Yeah.
so many friends get married during wedding season, you have all your clients getting married, and then if you're also getting married in midst of it, it's like making sure you can prioritize your time to really be present, but then what does that reality look like when you return? And that was
Yeah.
a little tricky, but it was so worth it.
Oh, I hear ya. My sister got married in June, and I took off time before her wedding, and like the week of work after her wedding was just like too
Insane.
much. Yeah, it's
I
just a
know someone's like,
lot.
"Oh, you were emailing me on your honeymoon." I was like, "It's a mini moon, but like it's also wedding season,
Yeah.
so I'm here for you.
Oh
All
my
is
gosh.
good."
Oh my gosh. Yes, I hear you there. Being in New York City, curious about the bridal industry, what are your busiest months?
Great question. So our peak wedding season is May through October.
Mhm.
And so we find that May and June and then September, October are madness. July and August we find are still busy, but we can breathe a little bit more because like it's very hot in
Yeah.
August in the city, same with July, and that's a time when a lot of people are on vacation. And then, you have your December weddings, everything is sprinkled out throughout the year, but those are like the main months. What about you?
I would say it's pretty much exactly the same. We get busy before the weddings actually happen with the alterations and everything, because obviously
Mhm.
it's before the wedding. So I get insanely busy August and September, part of October
Oh.
for the September, October weddings. And May and June are busy as well, but not nearly as busy as the fall. It's like the
Oh,
fall is
so
insane.
interesting.
Yes, the fall is so popular here. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
But
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And for us, like
mhm,
people come in for their hair and makeup trial a couple months before the wedding. And
mhm,
so that's the balance of like as we're executing weddings, as you're working
yes,
with your brides getting married, then you
you're
also need
kind
to
of
make sure the
doubling up.
girls are coming in for those trials so that they're set up for their wedding. And then I'm also, as you probably are as well, also trying to balance like sales and new bookings at the same
Hmm.
time. It's like an interesting cycle of seasonality for I think the whole industry.
What about January, February, and March? Are you just almost non-existent?
We do quite a lot of weddings. So generally like almost every weekend we will still have like events or weddings, but I'd say those are the times when people come in a lot for trials or
Oh,
if they're
yeah.
getting married say that coming fall, they might want to do a trial before booking. And
Yeah.
so for us Q1 is a lot like mostly focused on like getting bookings for the year, whether that's them coming in for trials or just like talking to them over the phone. It's like busy in that way.
Yeah, I was wondering if New York City was a little bit more of a hot spot in the winter with just, I don't know, the elegance of being in the city in the wintertime. But
Yeah,
there
I mean, we
around here too,
definitely
so
do. You figure too, like a lot of people, like I know, like the Palm Beach or Florida areas,
yeah,
like those get very
those are
popular. And a
booming.
lot of
Yeah.
times those are like New York City natives who are now getting married there because I know their busy time is the winter months. So, like when we slow down, that's when
Hmm.
they get crazy. And so that's always interesting because a lot of times it is like New York couples. So, as Beautini's slowing down, like this weekend is our last crazy, crazy weekend of the season, and then we can breathe. But this is now when it's really ramping up for my other company, Beia, because a holiday like Black Friday,
Oh,
Cyber
interesting.
Monday,
Yeah.
holiday is really, really big for consumer products. In a way, it works that it kind of flows in a way that it complements each other. But I think chaos and lots going on is what I just love all year round.
Yes. Yes, it's just a matter of what you're working on, but we entrepreneurs certainly can keep ourselves busy. I understand that.
Exactly, exactly. And you probably like if you're not working with clients, you have so much back end of the like parts of the
Mm-hmm.
business that you're working
Stuff you've
through
been
and like
neglecting during the crazy time.
yes, the
Mhm.
marketing, there's a never ending list.
Yes. Okay. So I have some rapid fire questions for you. Whatever comes to your mind first. So updo or beachy waves?
Beachy waves.
Really? Okay, I have
Actually,
to ask
no,
you
I'm gonna
both.
change it. Up to.
Updo?
I think for
Yeah.
me, up to, yes.
Okay. Whenever brides are in here and I'm like, how are you gonna do your hair? And they're like, oh, I'm not sure yet. They're like, what do you think? I always say updo because it is less maintenance during the day. You don't have to like worry that like there's a strand out of place. I just think it's easier for people and it kind of crosses over whatever kind of weather you could be having that day. Would you agree with that?
It's a safe option, but what we found is if someone is used to their hair always being down like I am, when people do an updo, it might look pretty in photos, but then they don't feel like themselves. So I always say,
Interesting.
like, even in August, like my wedding was in August, my hair I'm used to having down. So we end up doing like a half up, half down. So there was some hair out of the face. So it looked clean, even if I was sweaty, while having the hair to frame it. So I always say, like, honestly, half up, half down feels like that safe in between, but it's really whatever they feel most beautiful because when you look at photos, you're not going to think, oh, it was August, so that's why she needed her hair up. You're just going to look at like how confident and beautiful she looks.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, next one, neutral glam or a bold lip moment?
Neutral glam.
Neutral game. I love it. The bridal
Okay.
robe or PJs?
I wear a bridal robe, so I'll say robe.
It's classy. You wear PJs every other moment of your life, so I
I
would have.
did order both so I could wear pajamas, like not on the wedding day, but for photos, I had like, I think a lace robe. It's just so
Yeah,
feminine.
so
You
good.
can wear the pajamas underneath if
Yes,
you want.
yes, exactly. Okay, what is one beauty trend you secretly hope never goes away?
Glowy skin.
Glowy skin. Fantastic. I just am laughing because my husband sometimes he just like gives the most random compliments sometimes and he'll look at me and just go, "Your skin looks so dewy today."
Yeah, I love that's such a and you do have gorgeous skin. I'm looking at it now, I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
you definitely have
thanks.
glowy skin." So
Very
he knows what
fair.
he's talking about.
I'm just like, I don't know if he actually thinks that or if he just is saying it because he thinks it's
No,
funny.
I mean, whether he knows what he's saying or not,
It's
he's
still
spot on.
cracks a smile, so thanks. Okay, what is one beauty trend you could see retiring?
I think using too much filler in the face, like the lips, I feel like I think I'm all for doing treatments or procedures that make you feel your best, but when things are overdone, that's when it like gets a bad rep. So I think just like underdoing those kind of treatments will just give like a really nice like natural look again.
100% love it. I think we already touched on this, but what is your favorite Bea product for brides?
Ooh, I'd say either the hydrating mist, which is like great to set your skin and give that nice natural glow while setting your makeup, or the refresh wipes, especially if you like to dance, it's like a summer wedding, or you sweat when you're nervous. That would be the go-to.
Let's just say both.
All right,
Perfect.
let's just do both. Yes.
We already touched on this too, but destination honeymoon or cozy staycation?
Destination honeymoon, cozy mini moon.
Both again.
Yes, again. Sorry, I'm like not great at making decisions.
And I hear you. I hear you. And I do want to ask you, what is one piece of advice for brides who want to glow from the inside out?
Drink a lot of water, especially the night before your wedding and like the days on. If you have gotten a bunch of facials, but you are very dehydrated, it's going to show up on your face. Doesn't mean you're not drinking, but really like be mindful as you're having a cocktail the night before or during rehearsal dinner or whatever that you're really focused on staying hydrated because it's just going to allow your skin to radiate in a very natural way.
It's funny, I actually give that same advice for a very different reason. I just have a little advice card I give my brides as they're walking out the door at their final fitting, but it is to drink a lot of water the night before your wedding and a lot of water right when you wake up in the morning so you're very hydrated. And by the time you get into your gown, you probably don't have to pee as much the rest of the day.
Oh, smart. I go pee a lot because I do drink a lot of water. I was nervous how often I would have to go to the bathroom. But luckily, I think I held it in.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if
That's always a tough one on your wedding day.
Agreed.
Makes for some good memories in the bathroom. Okay, fantastic. And where can listeners connect with you and your
Yeah,
company?
so if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Brittany, BRITTANY.LO. And then Beautini is BEAUTINI. And then Beia Beauty is just BEIA.beauty. And if you DM Beia Beauty with the word podcast, we will give you a special welcome discount for your first purchase.
Ooh, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So, thank you so much for this conversation, Brittany. I learned a lot about you and about your companies, and I'm going to super dive deep into Beia because I am super interested in that for my brides and recommending that. But I want to hear what's next now that you have all these incredible things happening in your life and you just got married. Obviously, we have the honeymoon coming up, but what is next for Brittany Lo?
So I think just focused again, like planning a wedding on top of running two companies and like being a wife and having friends also get married. It's just been very overstimulating in the best way possible. But now, aside from the honeymoon and having fun, I think focus is key as an entrepreneur and like less is more. So I did a great job saying no to different networking events and just events in general so I could focus on planning a wedding. But now that we have those 3 hours every week available, making sure that I'm reallocating my time very, very mindfully. So that way I can continuously grow Beautini and Beia and still have time, of course, for my friendships and my relationships. But that's like my goal is like take a breather, relax a little bit more, and just like not like be so overwhelmed and breathe and then focus on the businesses.
Yeah, breathing is a good thing too.
And getting your sleep. And it's like, I did prioritize that leading up to the wedding as much as you can. I just, even this week, I'm like, wow, I am so exhausted. And it's because every weekend for weeks since our wedding, we went to Paris for a wedding. We went to another friend's house. Like we just had
Wow.
so much on top of work. And I think it's so important to be successful is like, you really have to like feel balanced and like rested because then you can think clearly and whatnot. So in the new year, or the rest of this year as much as possible, just like really valuing like time to slow down and just recalibrate and get refocused on priorities for the business and taking care of myself because I think that there's a lot of power in being well rested, being healthy, and being focused.
Love it. One last question for you. What is something you would tell 22-year-old Brittany?
I would say you're going to do amazing things. Just enjoy the journey. Even with me starting Beia, which was my second time, I was so focused on like, I want to launch this product now. I want to start figuring out sales. I want to go and get to like that end point. But part of the secret sauce and fun about being an entrepreneur, as you know, is like getting in pieces where there's no expectations of what will come out of this idea, but thinking about like, who is going to be my customer? I wonder who. What color should my logo be? What like is our first product? And like that is such a beautiful time to brainstorm and be so creative that I think is so sacred because at one point as you grow, it's all about numbers and sales and metrics. And I think there's so much beauty in the journey itself.
Thank you so much, Brittany. This was such an insightful conversation. I have enjoyed chatting with you, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. So thank you for
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode has allowed you to approach the world with greater confidence in your own personal style. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out through email or the inquiry form on the website. I hope you are all ready to go and get dressed up. I look forward to sharing more dressing up tips with you in future episodes. Thanks so much.